Just not feeling the mojo today, I'm here to tell you what. Believe it or not, that little bit of surface prep goes a long way to stopping a lot of problems. You'll have builders tell you that's not necessary, and they'll say crazy stuff to you, and I'm here to tell you, me personally, I know for a fact that aluminum has a tendency to oxidize just within a few hours of being exposed to air. You just kind of got to think to yourself, we don't know when these things were mounted up to the boards, and we don't know when they were cut, and we don't know how old the aluminum is, and maybe got a little bit of extrusion mill scale on it. And I mean, is it going to kill the builder to take a total of 5 minutes to clean up where my transistors are going to go and whatnot? Rudy toot, fruity poop. Just saying. Yeah. It is what it is. I do it on every single thing I work on over here. If I've got to pull the whole board up, so be it. But these are new builds, so I get in here and I do my little dance. Now, I personally feel that once we get the thermal compound in the hole, like as soon as there's a layer of compound that has been applied to that surface, we are creating a little bit more of an oxygen seal, so therefore the oxidization might be a little capped. Just saying. I don't know, it could be wrong. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's a keyboard warrior that knows way more about it than me, and if so, I'd like to really encourage him to put his comments down in the doobly-doo. I might read them, I might not. You never know, but I usually take a look at most of the comments. Now, it looks like I'm just smearing this on snot for dollar. And I am literally laying down a coat as thin as I can get it without the heat sink showing me bare aluminum. Because too much of this shit actually causes a problem. Now, when I first started doing this when I was a kid, when I was like 16 and 17, I thought, ooh, they make grease that makes it conduct better. And you end up having a couple pills pop because of that. You very quickly find out that this can help, or it can become an insulator. There is another school of thought that comes into play that you just want to put a little dab and then let the pressure of the device squish it out where it needs to be. I've seen several studies of this with people taking Lexan and smashing the Lexan in the vise and watching the thermal grease squirt out every which direction it needs to possibly think about possibly extruding itself to. And the problem is they're using really thick Lexan, and they're not using the soft, don't know on what the foot of transistor made of out of Chinesium is made out of. And you put too much grease underneath the transistor that isn't down there flat, and when you go to tighten the transistor down to the heatsink, it does a thing called hydraulic cupping, where it cannot apply any more pressure to the foot of the transistor, and it causes the transistor to cup, which will decrease the surface area. Whereas the transistor will not sit flat, it'll be bent, and the underneath side of that transistor will be full of thermal compound, acting more like an insulator. So, very thin layer. And I like to put this down before I put the board down, because the grease can cause a seal against the bottom of the board. I mean, when you're doing a repair, it's not really practical to take the whole thing up and re-grease everything, right? But this being a new build, I want to give it the best opportunity I can for success right out the hop. So if I put the shmoo on the transistors and slap the transistors down, The shmoo on the bottom of the transistors can create a seal against the heatsink, the grease, and you'll end up having an air pocket. Or it'll give you more of the hydraulic cupping effect. So if I can dictate to the environment a control of, let's control how much thermal compound's down, and we put it down universally, then the transistor doesn't have to do any mechanical work of trying to spread the cream out. It just needs to make contact. And there's a less chance that I'm going to have an air seal take place that causes a bubble. That's the whole reason I do this. That, and I want to, like, they'll come from ICA a little scuffed up. Well, I don't like the rough scuff. I like it a lot more polished surface, like hand lapped kind of thing. I used to hand lap these all by hand. I'd sit there and I'd lay down my polishing rouge, and then I bought that surface prep tool, and it takes it down there tight enough. Okay, lecture time over. Let's have some fun, because I am just not feeling the mojo of this day. I'm here to tell you I am a little bit grumpy. Probably something to do with like the 70,000 phone calls I got today. And I had to take my truck back to the tranny shop. Don't get me started. So our mission here today is to build 3 identical 4-pills. I had one gentleman represent a group of individuals that called me and said, hey, me and my friends, we want to have exactly the same kind of amplifier, and we don't want any bullshit involved. We want to have them biased for sideband, don't want any keying circuit, give us an RCA jack so we can run it like men. And I went, you have it, my man. I will make it happen. It is so. So that's what we're here today, is I'm going to build 3 identical 4-pills. I'm going to make them just a tiny bit different each, and I'm going to sign each one of them differently, so they're going to be unique into their own, but for the most part, they're going to be exactly identical. That way Bob can't say to Tom that says to Harry, mine's better because mine is this way. They should all work roughly the same. So I got to force myself to just screw down the transistors today. I don't want to be out here this afternoon. It's already 5:30. I think I'm going to get the boards down, get the transistors down, and I'm going to walk for the day. And I'm going to come back to this tomorrow morning with a much more upper chip attitude, and we're going to get on this like I'm playing with some boobies or something. Or something. Or something. I tell you, some days at this business are very trying. I'm here to tell you. Yesterday was one of those days. I'm one of them fellas that breaks the world down into 2 kinds of people. The kind of guy that sits around and talks about amp builders and talks shit about amp builders, and then it's the other kind of guy that actually sits around and tries to actually build. I say this because I have 14, 15, 16 students at this time that are all working on a myriad of different projects. I got one guy that's working on an 8-pill, a 4-pill, a 2-pill, and I think something else all at the same time. And he's getting it. He's legit getting it. And just those people every day working on their projects is so time consuming. Yesterday would have been a giant 0 of a day for me, productivity wise, if it hadn't been for my Patreons that help me shoulder the burden of a lot of the things I do around here. And man, yesterday was just a rough day. Just a lot of questions and a lot of. So when I was finally able to get all my running around for the day done and get out here and start working, I was feeling it. I came out here, I got these transistors mounted down, and I went, nope, I don't want to be out here no more. And I went in and, as my buddy Rude Dog used to say when I was a young man, I'm going to go pat the old lady on the butt. And I went and I did just that. I went in the house, pat the old lady on the butt. I got me some Steepy Steep. Today is a better day. So this morning, now I've covered why I'm bending down the legs of the transistors in many a YouTube video. It is to maximize the amount of tab surface area to ground to achieve the most efficient circuit that we can build. I do this on every single amp. That edge right here, I've hand filed it so it's round. It does not have a sharp edge to it. We don't want to put a sharp edge on the leads of the transistor because eventually it can either lead to a cracking or a breaking of the leg. I digress. Like I said at the beginning of this little segment, I break the world down into two kinds of people. The guys that sit out there and they talk an awful lot and they've always got a comment about something, but they'll always have the one picture of the one project they're currently working on that they've been working on for a decade. There's one guy that's in California. He's got a 15,000, supposedly. Nobody's ever seen it in person. He puts this picture up all the time. Well, this is my amplifier. It's got like 25 vacuum relays in it and 15 tank coils. It's a 15,000 supposedly for all the bands. Problem is it's never been gotten finished and he never gives us a new picture. So he's a talker, not a builder. And I get asked this question probably about 25 times a month. How do I get to be, or how do I get myself to where I can do what you're doing? And it's simple. Pick up a soldering iron and you start fucking up shit. That's all there is to it. I'm going to start soldering. And away we go with this day. Well, howdy boys and girls. I was just getting ready to shoot a segment here for you guys to look at and show you the progress on the amplifiers, but little problem. Power's out. So I don't know how long it's going to last, but this might add some time to this build. What do you think? So, literally had a camera set up and was ready to hit record and the power just went off. So, we will see how long it takes for it to come back on. Oh, if it's not one thing, it's another. The unsexy, unglamorous side of this beautiful business is the hours you spend toiling, making subcomponents. So over here we have our protection diodes. These are going to be our flyback, our balancing resistors. These are our flyback resistors. These are our load resistors for our bias circuit. These are our capacitors that we put on the positive circuit to throw the positive circuit out of resonance with the RF that's on the transformers, which actually do more work to isolate the transformers than the chokes. Our combiner and splitters for each one of the boxes, our relay circuits that, okay, so you guys know that every relay that I use, I have to take apart, varnish the contacts, otherwise clean them, and then reassemble and do it without making it look like the relay's been apart because everything has to be exactly new. And the reason I have to do that is because we'll Chinesium. Hours and hours and hours doing this. It's fun. Here to tell you. Don't you want to be an amp builder too? Yeah, it makes me jump up and want to do it. Woo! So, anywho, I'm excited. And let me explain to you why I'm excited. Yesterday, I did something I've never done before. I went and I picked up my clothes from the dry cleaner. I have never, at the age of 45, ever taken anything to the dry cleaner, ever. to my knowledge. My parents might have done something for me when I was a young wee lass, but I, as an adult human being, have never, shall we say, bought the employment of a dry cleaning person. I work with oil and I work with all kinds of shit, and I go or I turn my lathe on or I turn my drill on, and I'm not gonna lie, I wear only my own shirts for the most part. I got like 1 or 2 dress shirts. Most of the time my regular get up and go is tennis shoes, pair of shorts and t-shirt, baseball cap to keep me from beating my bald ass head against anything, and sunglasses, gun, keys, and I'm out the door with a wallet. All of my shirts looked like Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky had had a fucking closet party. They were spattered with spew. I'm here to tell you, it's horrible. Horrible. I went to put on a shirt the other day and I looked at it and I'm like, man, it looks like I spilled food all over my shirt a half hour ago. Here it's all covered with cutting fluid. I'm like, man. So I thought, well, I'll throw this one back in the laundry. And I grabbed another one and the other one looked the same. I took all my shirts to the dry cleaner, all of them but 3. I went and I grabbed 3 new out of the sales bin. And I'm here to tell you, 6X shirts are not cheap, okay? They're just not. But went and grabbed 3 new shirts out of the sales bin.
Yes.
And proceeded to sport those, and I went to the dry cleaners and said, here,
Yes.
D-Monica Bill Clinton my shirts. They thought the joke was funny. I thought the joke was funny. I was like, haha, hee hee. It was funny. It's a funny joke. The world's coming to an end if you can hear my phone over there. I was going to do that all day until I hit mute. But I was pretty stoked. I went to the laundromat yesterday and or the dry cleaners, and they were able to get all the stains out. The only downside is now my collars are all stretched out. So that means I have to go and develop a new tan line around my neck. I don't know if I'm going to be okay with that. But I'll make it through. I will. Well, this is fun. I'm just sitting here hand making parts, chilling. If you guys knew how many hours go into making each one of these YouTube videos, and the fact that I'm able to maintain one coming out about every 2 days, should be breathtaking to anybody on the outside looking in, but it is because of my Patreons that I am able to pull this off. And I want to say thank you guys that have come help support me, the channel, and the work that we do over here through the Patreon channel. And I want to thank all the YouTube viewers who tune in and give me thumbs up. I say thanks, guys. Well, the only steps I have to do now is to pick up the Blue Weller rods of steam and put them all on the boards. All the parts must go on the board. Okay, so I cracked the code. I love little puzzles like this. This is fun. So for legal reasons, we're not going to talk too awful much about the frequency that we're on, but we are going to use an ICOM 7300. And we're in the upper end of the HF band because we're going to use this 5-watt element that's kind of hidden here as a unit of measure to show our input and pass-through reflect. Let me turn the Skycam out of the way there. I get on Pal Talk every once in a while and I turn that camera on so people can watch me work. But okay, so first off, let's start down here. So that's a 1,000-watt slug and peak over here, 1,000-watt on average, 5-watt slug and reverse back from the Bird 10,000-watt demi-load. I spent probably an hour and a half trying to figure out why the pass-through tune was wacky on this setup, because I zeroed it out with my KC901. the same thing as your guys' rig expert, and I discovered that I had this button depressed and didn't realize it. I had the tuner in play. So the tuner, I don't know what it was tuned to, but it was totally messing me up. Okay, so let's go over here. Lock the tripod down too tight. There we go. Hello, 1 2. ICOM 7300. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Making about 100 watts worth of power. We're on sideband and we're running 15 volts into the, this is the white on red amplifier. I'll explain that here in a minute. Okay, so here, hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 is the radio. So, hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Little bit of dirt over here, but that's almost 50 dBm down from the principal. So it's nothing I have to worry about. So now let's come back over here and let's show you what we got going on for power output. Here's the radio and the pass-through tune, hello, 1 2 1 2. Here's the input into the amplifier. We're going to look here on the swir meter, and we're going to look over here at the 5-watt second reverse. Hello, 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Hello. Okay. Now we got the baseline set up, so we know our pass-through is good. So pass-through tune's good. The input tune is excellent. The output is harmonic free and right on the button. So let's see what we get out of this thing on the frequency that these things are being designed to operate on. Hello, 1 2. Hello, 1 2. Hello, 1 2. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Audio. 800 watts plus. Now, all of these are set up so they're a maximum of 200 watts worth of drive per box. Now the reason I call this the white on red is because of the wire color scheme. Where this one is red on black, and this one is black on red. I said I was going to build them a little different from each other. Now, these two have yet to be tested. So I've got to take what I've taught myself with this one and transfer it over to this one, which is not that big of a deal. It's like, add a couple caps, add a cap, test a bias. We're good. Remember, there's no auto key circuits in this anywhere. You've got to use a foot pedal. Now I'm using a micro 12 volt relay to trip the bigger relay. We do that for a couple different reasons. We do that so that we can trip our bias or trip the bias circuit with little to no energy. But we're also doing that so, like, let's say your nice new modern ICOM 7300 or Kenwood or whatever, the auxiliary output of that radio for the amp key section will actually run the amplifier. You don't need the, MFJ master control box. You don't need anything to sit in between this and the amp. Now I did go ahead and I added the auxiliary, or not auxiliary, but the remote jacks in the back, even though they're not going to get used in that application from what I'm told. How this works is you're going to use a 1/4 inch RCA, the tip of it's hot, the second ring on the collar, so tip's hot, and then the second ring on the collar is a return. These are built with 22 gauge wire for the positive side that acts as a kind of a makeshift fuse. So if for some reason you manage to short this out, all it's going to do is burn up that little wire in there and hey, nothing else catches on fire. So yeah, we now know what the white on red does. So let's go ahead, we'll do the black or the red on black, and then we'll do the black on red. So let's jump over to this one. This one's tested, ready to rock and roll. I'll get this one buttoned up and we'll test it, and then we'll test this one, and then we'll put the tins on it, and then we'll put some vinyl on it, and they're out of here. So Just give me a hot minute. Through the power of cinematography. In your world, it'll be just a second. We'll be testing this one. Okay. This is the red on black, and it's got the green on and LED on the front, just so you know. I'm not going to make them so they all got a different color LED. That way you guys, when you get them on the other end, you know who's got what. Okay, so we're back on our 15 volts. Zoom on in here. Hello, 1, 2, that's the radio. Perfectly quiet over here until the radio just popped up there. Okay, hello, 1, 2, there's a radio, or radio drive. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, audio, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. That's good. Let's come over here. Let's look at our input swirl. Hello, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Everything's happy. Okay, so I also want to throw this out there that there is 18 feet of coax between this radio and this box. So we're good. I'm happy. Let's go ahead and we're going to get on to the, let's see what's next. Black on red box. Let's get this all converted over on that one, and we're almost done. Green. I grabbed this out of a pile of LEDs, blue, and I thought it was red. Red. Don't matter. Just non-indicator. Okay, so let's repeat the same test that we've been doing here. Oh shoot, I gotta reach down here, and I had to go out and run some errands, and I came back and I actually talked to the customer on the phone. So as soon as I get done with this test portion, I've got to change all the wire out to 6 foot, because 4 foot's not long enough. So anywho, hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Perfectly on par with everything else. So let's go up here. Let's take a look for here. Hello, 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 hello. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. All right. So, hello. Hello, audio 1, 1. Hello, 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 hello. Okay. Done, 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 and done. So, now what I've got to do is I've got to disconnect all of this. I've got to change out our power wire to 6 footers, squirt this with some clear, and I got to put the lids and fan guards and all that stuff together. So, yeah, put vinyl on it. We are at the tail end of this. I want to throw this in there for my customers on the other side of the street. It is solely your responsibility where you choose to use this thing. Use it wisely, use it responsibly, and make sure that you attach all the appropriate filtration for those particular frequencies. That's all I'm going to say about that. That falls on your shoulders. That's your responsibility. But as we've shown on the spectrum analyzer, these things are relatively clean, but still, I'm putting it out there that you probably want to think about using a filter board or like a low pass filter. Just saying, something to think about. I'm going to leave it there, and I'm moving on. Well, gentlemen, we're done. Lids are on it, they're cleared, vinyl's on them. The customer asked at the last minute that if I could change them from 4 foot power wires to 6 foot. He's got 6 foot plus on all 3 of them. I'm done. This has taken 4 days in amongst all the other stuff I've had going on to get these finished. I can't believe it took me most this week. It's depressing to me, but telling you, the builds occupy way more time than the repairs, and I'd personally rather just do the repairs. But when you got obligations, you got obligations, and you got to take care of business. So anyhow, I want to say thanks, gentlemen, for tuning in. Thanks for following along. If you get an opportunity, you might want to think about it. Come over and hit me up on Patreon. Big help. Big thanks to Siglet, MechMan, Bird, Coaxial Dynamics. And as always, a big thanks to all of you guys, the viewers, because that's the reason I'm here. You guys having a wonderful rest of your week, and I'm off to go do yet another project. On that note, we'll see you. Click, click.